he's competitive, he's good in the air. All the parts were there, Paul, but not a consistent nature of his game was there. You understand? You couldn't actually see what kind of midfield player he was, but all the parts were there.
Ince's transfer was a complicated one. It eventually ended up as an instalment deal, but at one point it was off completely due to injury.
The boy was broken-hearted when I had to go and tell him, dear me, it was really, and his girlfriend she was very good. At his time, Claire, his wife, and she consoled him. And so Ambrose says, look, I can't believe this, he's never been injured.
Under Fergie's guiding influence, Ince has matured into the complete midfield player, to such an extent that he's captained England. The snarls had turned to smiles, and Fergie had indeed produced a jewel for United and England.
Everyone when they're 21, 19, obviously are going to have difficult times, are going to get in trouble, things like that. And I was no exception. It's just that I got highlighted a lot more than other people did because I played football and I was doing well at my career. And obviously now I've had a family, I've had a little boy, and you get older, you get wiser, don't you, and you get more mature, and it seems to calm me down a bit, yeah.
He's taking a great responsibility in looking after gigs, which is a good thing, you know, and Ince is not a bad man to have in your corner, like for young Ryan Giggs. Not a bad man to have. I don't know how it started. All of a sudden, Ince has gone, right, Giggsy, come on. I think he's T-boy in the hotel rooms. Giggsy will argue about that, but it's a nice relationship.
We're roommates. Well, he's not much of a roommate, but we are roommates, and it's great for me. Hopefully I'm great for him. We've got a great bond, we talk about things, and we've got a lot of things in common, and we spend a lot of time outside football together.
We've got the same sense of humour. He's still young at heart, really, even though he's getting on at 26. But no, he's been brilliant.
It has been said that you're actually taking him under your wing.
Yeah, I've settled him down a bit.
Sitting in here one day and I gave him pelters on Saturday, but after the game, you know. The Monday morning I was sitting here right away and the door opened, this double barrel shotgun come through. What a fright, you know, a fright I got, see this gun coming through, and then the wee head says, don't you ever give me a stick again.
Having discussed a significant turning point, we reach crisis point. A disaster of a derby match and the knives were being sharpened. Fergie was looking a worried man as the media homed in. Defeat in the FA Cup at Nottingham Forest in January 1990, they predicted, would mean the end.
I think what did it that day was defiance from the supporters. And the players responded to the supporters' promptings that day. Right from the word go, they were on song their support. They were not going to lose that game.
The new players started to gel that day, and the strain had visibly lifted from Fergie's face as United went on to Wembley and brought the FA Cup back to Manchester.
All the signs were that the boss had built himself a good team, and the FA Cup was, I think, just a little bit of confidence that they needed, because there had been a few players at the club then for about 2 years and they hadn't won anything, and I think sometimes doubts comes into it then. But it materialised well.
I said at the time that they would definitely improve, the success would make them better. But I think maybe that I felt there was maybe 1 or 2 players off a league team.
Still in search of the Holy Grail, the pressure on United to win the championship for the first time since 1967 intensified. And so did the stories about Fergie's notorious temper.
I don't think there's anything wrong with losing your temper as long as it's the right reasons. I've always said that if I lose my temper just for the sake of losing my temper, you know, I'd be worried about myself. But I think the bad performance is always a reason to lose your temper with players. They can never accept bad performance, bad standards. And once I do say it's over, I don't then think about it the next day. I get it off my chest, and that's it, finished.
You do get some of the players scared of him. I think once you've been with them for so many years, the older players aren't particularly, but he frightens the young lads to death.
Denis Irwin was part of the Oldham side which reached Wembley in the League Cup in 1990 and the semi-final of the FA Cup, and those thrilling games against United. A proven international as well with Jack Charlton's Republic of Ireland.
What a phenomenal player. clever, resilient, quick, great balance, two magnificent feet, wonderful feet, good passing ability, good crosser. All the parts of his game are really good.
Well, fullback's fullback. I think I've got a half-decent left peg anyway, so I get away with it. It's basically the same job, right back, left back, just getting forward, support gigs, and that's it.
He's the best fullback in the game. There's no question about that.
And how much did he cost?
700,000. I feel, honestly, I feel embarrassed when I say that. Joe's always phoned up and saying, "My Robert."
The Cup Winners' Cup of 1991 belongs to Manchester United.
Not everything United touched turned to silver. Victory in the 91 European Cup Winners' Cup was a huge consolation for losing out to Sheffield Wednesday in the League Cup a month earlier. Further consolation came with the emergence of Lee Sharp.
Pinching it back from Dixon. It's a beauty! It's raining goals at Highbury!
There are few left-sided players in the country who are good enough to lace his boots, but Lee Sharp started out cleaning them for Torquay's senior players, all in a day's work for a 16-year-old YTS lad. He'd just broken into the first team. In the crowd for only his fourth full game was Alex Ferguson.
I was woke up at 1 o'clock. The boss and Dave Turner come round the house, got me out of bed at 1 o'clock and said, "Hey, do you fancy signing for Manchester United?" I was just speechless. I couldn't believe it.
I was only 16 at the time, and I was in Torquay's first team, and I was just worried about coming to such a big club and just getting swallowed up and never getting a game. Before I signed, I came up for 2 days training, and when I got here, the reserves had played a game the day before, so they were all off. So I was sort of just knocking around with the first team, and I'm sort of stood there like thinking, God, I've just been watching these on telly, and now I'm training with them. I couldn't believe it. So.
He made his debut in October of '88 as a left-back against West Ham. It was the brief era of Fergie's fledglings, and Sharp is the only survivor. A suitable word to describe him.
He's worked hard at his game. He's had a lot of bad luck. He's had injuries, strange injuries, and that illness, the meningitis thing, was a particularly worrying period for the boy and for us. And each time he's come through it, which tells you something about the character of the lad.
When I kept getting attacks and I was in hospital, in and out of hospital 4 times altogether, it was quite difficult.
But he's a bit like the Robbo thing, you know, he keeps coming back after every illness or injury and defying you, you know, and producing terrific moments in a game. He's almost like an American light heavyweight now. I mean, he's wonderful physique. And his pace has improved, and his passing was the area in which we worked hardest at him. His passing and his crossing was magnificent anyway. And he's a good goal scorer, he's a good finisher. He's breezing, he likes that attention, likes all the girls running about after him, things like that. But he's young. Eventually settle down it, I hope. He'll get married quickly. One of our ground stewards, Harold Wood, came to me just not long after I'd arrived and says, "Mr. Ferguson, you need help." He says, "I've seen this young lad." And none of the scouts seem to have seen him. And I said, "What's his name?" He said, "Ryan Wilson," which was his name at the time. I said, "Right, I'll get it checked out, thanks very much." And he came down with his father, and saw him running on the pitch and at the cliff. And I says, "God, that's a player."
I've been at Manchester City for, you know, a few years at the Centre of Excellence, but I'd always supported Manchester United as a kid, so they were the right choice.
I mean, Bobby Charlton, when he used to say to me, "Well, if there's any games next week, or when's the kids playing, you know?" I said, "Well, we've got the schoolboy thing in a couple of weeks' time." He'd take a couple of days off to come down and watch Ryan. When I first saw him, he scored, I think he scored 4 out of 6. He won by 6 and he scored 4, Ryan. I says, "What the hell was that?" I says, "That's the young kid I was telling about, Ryan Wilson."
His debut came as a substitute against Everton less than 5 years after Fergie first saw him play. It was Christmas '86. He was 13 and there was a bright star in the sky.
He just seemed to float across the ground, and such wonderful balance and electric pace, and did everything so quickly. And courageous too, so brave, you know. And he's one of the few players well, probably the only player I've ever had at that age that you get so excited about. I think he'll be one of the best players in the world in 5 years' time. He has to achieve that kind of level because he has that potential to do that. Now, hopefully the potential will come into fruition, and we're talking about in 5 years' time, the little bit extra you need to be the presence and the acceptance of everything that happens in the football field, his tactical brain, his passing. All the final bits have to be in place by that time.
Last summer, United twice received offers of £10 million for Giggs from AC Milan, but Fergie just scoffed at that. He also imposed a media ban determined to prevent other sorts of comparisons with George Best.
He's done brilliant, you know, with on and off the field. You know, if I've got a problem on the field, you know, he'll show me where I'm going wrong. And off the field, you know, he's shielded me from the press and just let me get on with football, which has worked out great.
The saviour of the boy's career, the way we've handled it.
Feel strongly, is that?
Absolutely. Can you imagine if we'd have let him in the hands of the media? What chance would he have? He'd have no time for playing football. All the magazines who want to do profiles on him, the television interviews he's supposed to want to do, all the commercial things. If we didn't control that, we'd have a spent player by he's 21. So the way we've done it has been absolutely correct.
In the summer of '91, Fergie was aware the team of his dreams required a better balance.
And Kanchelskis has got the pace to punish them on the counter-attack here.
Good technical player, and he was only 22. So we weren't really risking a lot. He'll always sell it back, you know. That was the way we looked at it. But he's done fantastic for us. I mean, it's a snip now of 650,000, crikey me. Well, there's a further payment, of course. It's taken up to about 900,000 as total. But we've had 3 tremendous seasons out of him.
English football, it's athletic, very fast, very quickly. It's Europe, no. It's slowly in combination, passing. This and very quickly football. It's people, it's fantastic.
He's got a lot of help. He's needed a lot of help. But he's a lovely boy, you know, nice boy. Trains, fantastic trainer, wonderful trainer. And I think you see bit by bit how he's developed into our game.
Slightly disillusioned at the end of last season, Kanchelskis has just got better and better, even outshining Lee Sharp and Ryan Giggs in the run into the championship.
This season it's very happy and play every game play and right. It's last season it's no happy. It's you understand, no play me. It's one game play, 5-6 games. It's sit bench. It's no happy.
But we now realise that we're a far better team with Andre on the right hand side. Not in any way a better player, but better balance. And it's fine things that we're at now, fine tuning with certain things. And Andre's proved beyond doubt now that he's the right-sided player for us.
There will come a time when I have to make the decision for who I should play. And don't ask me because I don't know.
Even Hans Christian Andersen could not have scripted a better fairy tale than Denmark's triumph in the 1992 European Championship. From the land of children's fantasy and fiction came Peter Schmeichel, who was simply invincible.
And really probably the most popular man in the whole, dare I say, the whole of Denmark at the moment, Peter Schmeichel.
I was a very wild goalkeeper. I was going for everything, all crosses, everything. I was really an uncontrolled goalkeeper at that time.
And he is who he is. But once you take away all the emotions, you can boil it down to one simple factor. The lad's a winner. And there's no question about that. He's quick across the ground.